What constitutes a blessing? In Parshat Vayechi, we read of Yaakov's final blessings to his children as he nears the end of his life. Taking a closer look at each of these so-called blessings, however, they don't all read as positive. The first few tribes, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, are reprimanded by their father. The rest of the sons receive what we would call regular blessings. Issachar and Zvulun, Naphtali and Asher are promised material wealth. Dan, Gad, and Binyamin are blessed with military power. Yehuda and Yosef are given the mantle of leadership. For what are we as readers meant to take from the full picture of Yaakov's parting messages to his children, the good along with the bad? Rabbanit Alyssa Thomas Newborn offers the following frame for reading Yaakov's blessings. We can, of course, read them in the context of each child's individual narrative, as we've read up until now. But we could also read them as a paradigm for what it means for a parent to bless their child. And more broadly, we can extend this to understand what does it mean for God to bless us, God's children. I want to use this frame to tease out two lessons from Yaakov's final blessings to his sons. First, even though not all Yaakov's blessings to his children are positive, they each reflect intimate knowledge of the individual child before him. Looking at these moments as Yaakov's final parenting moments with his sons, we see a father very attuned to his children's weaknesses and strengths. Yaakov is able to reflect to each of his sons their unique characteristics, their potential, as well as how they have disappointed him or fulfilled that potential in his eyes and given him hope. In doing this for each of his sons, Yaakov's blessings are unique in contrast to Avraham and Yitzchak's blessings to their children at the end of their lives. For instead of choosing just one son to continue their legacy and designating a different path for all of the others, Yaakov chooses to include all of his sons. He blesses all of them. Rav Tamir Granot describes this difference as follows. Yitzchak establishes the blessing of Avraham, the divine choice with his obligations and privileges will belong to Yaakov alone. Yaakov is chosen, Esav is rejected. Yaakov, on the other hand, blesses his children with the desire that they will all be part of the divine choice. This blessing is distributed between all of them. Yaakov divides the blessing among all of his children to preserve each of them in the divine promise. Each of them receives a part according to what they deserve. His blessing doesn't reflect any desire to reject any of his children. And he notes that the unity of the family depends on a division of this blessing, such that they all receive something and they are all dependent on each other. There's no advantage to having power to reign if there's no economic abundance, writes Rav Granot. And the fruits of abundance cannot be enjoyed and utilized without a strong and wise leadership. And so, Yaakov's hope is that there won't be competition and rejection, rather that there should be mutual concern and responsibility in the tradition established by Yaakov, their father. Rav Granot is noting that as a parent, Yaakov hopes to leave his children with a legacy that changes the pattern that existed up until now. Instead of choosing one child and rejecting another, he tries to pass on a legacy of inclusion, interdependence, and connectedness to his sons. Each brother's blessing depends on the other in order for their own to be fulfilled. Second, Yaakov's desire in pointing to each of his sons' individual strengths and weaknesses is that they learn from those strengths and weaknesses and that they grow. Yaakov wants his children to experience all the blessings he had and more. Rashi points out that this is noticeable in the language of Yaakov's blessing to Yosef. Yaakov says, Birkot avicha gavru al birkot horai. The blessings of your father, of Yaakov, surpass the blessings of my ancestors. On the continuation of Yaakov's blessings to Yosef, Rashi comments. So this is the continuation of the pasuk. The blessings extend to the utmost bounds of the eternal hills. May they rest upon the head of Joseph, on the brow of the elect of his brothers. So Rashi says, up to the boundaries of the everlasting hills, because Yaakov's blessings have prevailed over those of his fathers. They've extended to the very ends of the bounds of the everlasting hills. For God gave me a blessing that bursts all boundaries, one that has no limits, one that reaches to the four corners of the world. An unqualified promise that was made neither to Abraham nor to Yitzchak. It is to this that Yeshayahu alludes when he says, and I will feed you the heritage of Yaakov, my father. And Yeshayahu did not say, with the heritage of Abraham. Let's unpack this midrash. The midrash says Yaakov's blessings that he experienced surpassed those of Abraham and Yitzchak. How so? Yaakov is blessed with practically something larger. He's told that all of his descendants will spread to the west, to the east, to the north, and the south of the land of Israel, whereas the content of Abraham and Yitzchak's bracha did not specify this. Then the midrash goes on to quote a pasuk from Yeshayahu, which references specifically the inheritance of Yaakov, using this as further proof that Yaakov's inheritance was in fact larger and greater than Yitzchak and Abraham. My colleague Rabbanit Alyssa Thomas Newborn teaches that Yaakov is describing a desire that any parent might have. Just as my parents, a parent says to themselves, gave me beyond what they had. They gave me all the good in life and they allowed me to experience blessing. So too, I want to pass on that blessing to my children and more. I want my children to have more than what I had, more material blessing and more spiritual blessing. And so, these are the blessings that Yaakov gives to his sons at the end of his life. He blesses them individually to communicate. May you each feel seen and valued, included and interconnected. May your present and future, as individuals and as a family, be better than what you've experienced in the past. This, if we read Yaakov's blessings, is what it means to be a parent to a child, to hope for the future, to hope for more, to hope for better. This is what it means to receive the bracha for us as children of God, to feel this sense of hope. There can be more, there can be better. And so this is the blessing that we read as we enter the new year of 2021. Yaakov's blessings to his children, which we can now hear as God's blessing to all of us. May we experience more blessing than we have known in the coming year.